Hey everyone, it's Frank here. If you've been waiting on news about that $2,000 stimulus check, or dividend payment as the president has been calling it, I've got a brand new update from the White House that just came out yesterday. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett gave an interview revealing exactly when we're likely to see the official proposal, who qualifies, and whether this is actually going to happen. Some of this is really encouraging news. Before we dive in, if you're new here, welcome to Retirees Info. I've been covering financial relief programs for families like ours for over 6 years now. I've helped millions of people navigate benefits, stimulus payments, and emergency assistance because I've been there myself, struggling to make ends meet and needing clear, honest information without the runaround. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about what's actually happening with these $2,000 payments. The president has been talking about this since last July, calling them dividend payments rather than stimulus checks. The idea is that with tariff revenue coming in from trade deals, that money could be distributed directly to American households. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent already indicated back in early November, and I actually have a video about this on my channel if you want to go back and watch it, that these payments would go to households making under $100,000 per year. That's the income threshold we're working with. And here's something really important I want to clear up because I get this question constantly. If you're on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or you're a senior who doesn't file a tax return, you're not automatically excluded. This has nothing to do with whether you work or file taxes. It's all about your income. If your income is under $100,000, you could qualify, period. So yesterday, White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett, who's actually on the short list to potentially become the next Federal Reserve chairman, gave an interview where he provided some really specific details about this $2,000 payment. Here's what he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but these are his words. Back in the summer, he wasn't sure there would be room in the budget to send these payments. But now with a couple quarters of almost 4% economic growth, a government surplus running for a few months in a row, and the deficit down by $600 billion compared to last year, he's pretty confident there actually is space for it. Then he said something really important. He expects that in the new year, the president will bring forth an official proposal to Congress to make this happen. So let me break down what this means. We're not talking about maybe or we'll see anymore. The White House economic advisor is saying he expects an official proposal in early 2026. That's huge. He also clarified that this money could come from tariff revenue, but ultimately Congress would need to appropriate the funds. That's not surprising. Any government spending has to be approved by Congress. But the fact that he's talking about it in these concrete terms is very encouraging. Now let's talk about how this would actually get passed, because this is where it gets interesting and honestly pretty hopeful for those of you waiting on this money. Congress has already indicated they're planning to do at least 2 more reconciliation bills between now and early 2027. What's a reconciliation bill? It's basically a special type of legislation that allows one party to pass major bills with just a simple majority in the Senate, 51 votes instead of the usual 60 votes required for most legislation. They just use this process over the summer to pass a multi-trillion tax cut bill. And here's why this matters for the $2,000 payments. If they include this in a reconciliation bill, they can get it passed much more easily without needing bipartisan support. From a political standpoint, and I'm not making this political, just stating facts, the party in power would get full credit for these payments. And with midterm elections coming up, that's a pretty strong incentive to make this happen sooner rather than later. So when could we actually see this official proposal? Kevin Hassett said early 2026. But what does that mean exactly? Here's my realistic assessment. If they're serious about this, I think we'll see the official proposal by mid to late February at the latest. Here's why. Once we get into March, we're in full campaign mode for the midterm elections. If they want to use this as a major talking point for those elections, which the president has already indicated they will, they need to get the proposal out and start messaging it by early to mid-February. So I'm talking first 6 weeks of the new year, January through mid-February. That's the window where I'd expect to see the official proposal if it's going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean payments would go out immediately. There would still need to be congressional votes. The bill would need to pass. The IRS would need to process payments. Realistically, we're probably looking at spring or early summer 2026 for actual payments if everything moves forward smoothly. Let's be crystal clear about who would get this money based on what we know so far. Income requirement: households making under $100,000 per year. Now, we don't know yet if that's individual income or household income, or if there will be phase-outs like previous stimulus checks, but that $100,000 threshold has been consistently mentioned. Social Security recipients: yes, you would likely qualify if your income is under that threshold. This includes regular Social Security retirement, SSI, SSDI, all of it. You do not need to file a tax return to get this. Seniors: same deal. If you're 65, 75, 85 years old and your income is under $100,000, you'd likely qualify. Veterans: if you're receiving VA benefits and your total income is under the threshold, you'd qualify. Parents with kids: based on previous payment structures, there might be additional amounts per child, though that hasn't been confirmed yet. Unemployed workers: if you're currently unemployed or your income dropped and you're now under $100,000, you'd likely qualify. People on disability: whether you're on SSDI, Veterans Disability, or other disability benefits, if your income qualifies, you should get the payment. The key thing to understand is this is about income level, not about your work status or what kind of benefits you receive. Here's what's really encouraging about this latest update. First, the White House economic advisor went from "I'm not sure if there's room for this in the summer" to "I'm pretty sure there is room for it now." That's a significant shift in confidence. Second, the economic data is supporting this government surplus for multiple months, deficit down substantially, economic growth strong. These are the conditions that make a payment like this politically and economically feasible. Third, we have a specific timeline now. Early 2026 for an official proposal is the most concrete information we've gotten on this. Fourth, the reconciliation bill pathway exists. They don't need to negotiate with the opposing party or get 60 votes. They can do this with a simple majority, which makes it much more likely to actually happen. Don't just wait around hoping this happens. Here's what you need to do to make sure you're ready when and if these payments get approved. File your 2024 taxes as soon as possible. If this payment goes through, they'll use your most recent tax return to determine eligibility and income level. Get that filed early. Update your information with the IRS. Make sure they have your current mailing address and direct deposit information. You can do this at irs.gov. If they're going to send money, you want to make sure it gets to you without delays. If you don't normally file taxes, you still might need to file to get this payment. That's what happened with previous stimulus checks for people on Social Security and SSI. So even if you're not required to file, keep an eye out for information about filing to claim the payment. Don't fall for scams. Once this gets closer, scammers will be out in full force. The IRS will never call you, text you, or email you asking for personal information to get a stimulus payment. Anyone who does that is a scammer. Check for other benefits you might qualify for right now. Go to benefits.gov and use their screening tool. While you're waiting for this potential payment, there might be other programs, SNAP, LIHAP, Medicaid, that could help you. Today, let me speak directly to some specific groups who've been asking me about this. Moms and dads, I know you're struggling with childcare costs, groceries, school expenses. If this comes through, it could be a huge help. Make sure your tax return includes all your dependents and that your income information is accurate. Seniors on fixed income, you've been hit hard by inflation while your Social Security checks haven't kept up. This payment has nothing to do with your work history or whether you file taxes. Focus on making sure the IRS has your current information. Veterans, you've served this country and you deserve this support. Whether you're working, retired, or on disability, if your income qualifies, you should get this payment. People with disabilities, this is not about your ability to work, it's about your income. If you're under that $100,000 threshold, you should qualify. Unemployed workers, if you've lost your job or had your hours cut and your income has dropped, you could definitely qualify. Make sure you file your 2024 taxes to show that reduced income. Okay, I need to be completely honest with you. Is this payment guaranteed? No. There's still a chance that the proposal doesn't get introduced or it gets introduced and doesn't pass or it passes but gets modified. But here's what I will say. This is the most concrete information we've had about this since the president first mentioned it back in July. Kevin Hassett is not some random person. He's the White House economic advisor. He's in the room where these decisions are being made, and he's saying he expects this proposal to come forward. The economic conditions are right. The political incentives are there. The pathway exists through reconciliation bills. All the pieces are lining up in a way that makes this more likely than not to happen. Does that mean you should count on it for your rent payment next month? Absolutely not. But should you be prepared and watching for it? Yes. Look, I know you're tired of hearing maybe and soon, and we'll see. You need help now, not 6 months from now. I get it. I really do. What I can tell you is that this update from yesterday is the most encouraging news we've had on this payment. We've got a timeline early 2026 for the proposal. We've got an income threshold, $100,000. We've got a White House advisor saying he's confident there's room for it in the budget. That's more than we've had before, and it's moving in the right direction. In the meantime, please check out those resources in the description. There's help available now while we're waiting. You don't have to struggle alone. Keep your information updated with the IRS. File your taxes early. Stay informed, but don't let this consume you. We'll know more in the next 6 to 8 weeks. I'll be here keeping you updated every step of the way. As soon as that official proposal drops, I'll have a video up breaking down every detail. If you found this helpful, please hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. Share this video with anyone you know who's been asking about these payments. Drop your questions in the comments, and I'll answer as many as I can. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, you're not alone in this. I've got your back. I'll see you in the next